One question for both speakers, actually for all participants here. Well, I think when we have here, because we have partners for Latin America, for other continents, I think we have to address this question, and we have here the Secretary of European, how is it called? I don't know, International Trade Union Confederation.
No,
it's a European...
it's the European structure of the international...
Yeah. So I think maybe you could answer this question. What about the global competitiveness of labor? I think this is the issue we need to address. Unless we cannot be content with achievement of workers' rights or better living conditions or building up better living without being aware that on the other continents these rights are not respected.
They're not respected here either.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. Okay. So, well, I mean, one of the key things, that's why I say it sounds pessimistic or something. We don't operate in this way. I mean, it is there, and that's why we face it. And something has to be done. There's nobody else to do anything. I mean, not nobody else in society. I mean, on our side. And the problem is, of course, that as it was said, labor law has been significantly eroded in the last couple of years in particular, but it started earlier, even in the European Union. And that's where the big trouble is on global level. Nowadays, the big attack on labor rights comes primarily from Europe and from the EU, which was supposed to lead the way, and was leading the way, in a way, until the crisis. Because of the standards, and they were one way or another, they were working, they were producing effects. I mean, and that was also the future, or that is the hope for the future of the new member states, candidate countries, and everybody else. Now, it's clear that the core of the attack on labor rights is from Europe. I mean, on a political, on a high level, on a global level. I mean, otherwise, in different countries, it goes all the time, and people are killing Latin America and others. I mean, which is a different story. But it now is reaching its peak. That's why I say these are the trends as they look at the moment. How far they will go, how they will materialize in the future. But they will not simply go back. I mean, that's one thing that we have to make very clear from the very beginning. I mean, that we don't operate, at least me and the colleagues in the institute around that, we're not going back to 2006. All the structural, I mean, that's since then they are there. We are not going back, even with the crisis cycles and everything else. I mean, it's not a cyclical anyways, it was told this morning. But we're not going back to 2006. The problem is exactly how we can influence where we are going and to bring it in a direction that is better. I mean, not what is happening at the moment, but that's why we have to be clear what is happening at the moment. And what is particularly on this dimension, that's why I say Europe now, so in a sense the reference frame is beginning to be eroded. That's the big danger for the world. And with more that is supposed that the emerging markets with their dynamics will pull the whole global economy out of the crisis. So then of course I can see the argument, well, you see, that's where they don't have unions, because this is China, Indonesia, South Korea, and all. I mean, okay, only Brazil is a different story. But all, and in South Africa, of course, but then Russia is a special case also. And all this, so there is the argument, you see, this is the way to develop. And then the whole argument of competitiveness is in a way vindicated by this kind of development. So, so that's why Europe plays a very important role in the whole construction of global labor rights as such, and no matter in what form, under what procedures, institutions, and all this will help. What is now at the moment, that what we are saying and raising in the ILO, labor rights, as it was said, yes, there are parts officially of the human rights doctrine, practically they are not. I mean, and again, some of the biggest violations, the most direct, are in Europe. because that's where it was supposed never to happen. That's where I say that this peace project is beginning to be unraveled in a very substantial way. And this is where you see the contradictions now, and they're very much used. It's on the EU papers on labor market development, on labor law development, the green paper for several years when it started, far before the crisis, where they all the time talk about the segmentation of the labor market, the insiders, which have privileged positions and monopolistic positions, and the outsiders, which can't get in. And on that basis now you can see it in the different countries used more and more in particular dimensions, is de facto what we have contradictions which are between the right to work and the rights at work, which is a horizontal between different groups of workers and between different groups of interests of workers, rather than so much between employers and workers. So that's where this shift is now very skillfully manipulated, and yes, it works. I mean, it's that's why I say all the informalization, all the other things, one by one, the chips are going down, and we have a mosaic. So that's why when people said the emerging precariat and all this, yes, that's one of the new blocks that is there already, and it's important. And all the informal economy is there to stay. That all these kinds of expectations that the plan, the market, this or that will work and will liquidate it. No, it is there to stay. It's clear. So the question is, what do we do with it? How do we do it? Because if not do with it, then we have to adapt the systems of social security and social protection. There's one way or the other, but you can't have both. I mean, because you can't lose money on one side and then maintain social systems on the other. I mean, the equation in the Balkans are one of the key, especially with the low levels of employment, low salaries and all this. So there we are. And these are the key questions, and that's where labor rights are beginning to be dissolved, also using the objective conditions of the crisis. And unfortunately, yes, it works. I mean, that's the whole point, until, of course, there is contradiction. So, okay, unions are trying on one side on the European level, but then it's all others that were the revolts in the streets, with the Indignado starting, as I said, now. And yes, there are new forms appearing. I mean, on the other, that's why if you say in Greece last month, the beginning of February, one of the construction factories for construction materials, which was closed for a year and a half or something, 2 years, it was opened by the workers. And it was a big celebration in Thessaloniki. 5,000 people in the evening, I mean, and that was where it's, for the moment, it's working. They put it back to work. So there's all these new things appearing. There is a lot of let's say before that, people from the villages were bringing food. I mean, in the difficulty since last year they started, and completely other was totally exchanges of economy. I mean, it's a different. They introduced their own money in many places. I mean, it's internally. So there are other things happening, but all this. That's why I say that even in the best case scenario, what we face for the several next years, for sure, which is already clear, even if tomorrow everything stops. I mean, the positive effects of new economic positive development will come in years, especially what concerns employment, incomes, and all this. So yes, we are facing this period of low growth, high employment, of depressing incomes, and all this. And the question is, what do we do? How long people will stay, and how much is the political time? The politicians, it's easy. Okay, for Merkel, she has to drag it until the elections in September. And that's actually the curse on Europe, because nothing is moving, as you could see. Everything is only kept under control as much as possible, only to drag it to the election, not to have some major explosion anywhere. But this is the question further on. Okay, we'll see after the elections, there is much more of the true situation, I guess, will start coming out, because it has to be addressed. But that's, I mean, the question, how we pass these years, because yes, in Bulgaria, people already are revolting, they are organizing, they're self-organizing themselves. They want the system change. It's not about prices, it's not about austerity even. It's about the political system. They don't want this political system with these people that make the policies and take the decisions. And it's in a way it started already in Spain today. So, on one side you need the democratic system and institutions in order to make the deep changes. On the other side, that's exactly the blockage. that's where the questions now stand. I mean, and that's where it says, okay, these people, they don't know what they want in the street. Yeah, they know what they want. I mean, the problem is, yes, this has to be developed over time, and they will develop it. Nobody will invent it. I mean, it will not happen at a conference or something. I mean, or somebody will sit in the offices and develop it. It will happen when we follow what is going on and try to use each situation to move it a bit forward. And yes, it will take time, no question. We are in crisis, and that's it. And very difficult time.
Thank you for that extensive.
Well, to move back to international solidarity question, it is a difficult one, of course, but I think the answer should be very simple. As I see it, it is not a question of let's say competition between workers and standard of living in Europe in relation to workers and people from other parts of the world, because it is not the level of labor and social rights of workers and people in general in Europe which causes even lower labor and social rights of people in some other parts of the world. They are all in very similar situation, and they all raise the same questions and problems. The relationship is between labor and capital, I think, and different redistribution of the wealth. So, but this question raises the necessity, we have to emphasize the necessity of international action. Of course, there is a question how to, and where is the international, this social counterpower, how to make it more powerful. But it is, yes, similar to the relation between flexible precarious workers and regular workers. It is not the conflict. It is not a conflict of their interests, and we can resolve the problem of this so-called segmentation by lowering the rights of regular workers, or, and this is the right way, by raising and make it stronger the situation, rights of the precarious workers. So, in this problem of solidarity, of course, in this globalized world, we have to demand that everywhere in the world, the rights, the labor and social rights of people are raised, not at the expense of the high level of labor and employment and social rights in the Europe, but at the expense of capital profits. I mean, there is the source of more just conditions of work everywhere in the world. Yes, but we need international social counterpower. So.
Thank you very much. I apologize for asking this question in a sense. I think the notion of labor rights is an oxymoron.
Workers' rights, sorry.
No. I tried to struggle for 25 years to escape labor law training and the perception of labor rights. And I wrote a book, Work After Globalization, where I was trying to get away from the very foundations of labor law and labor rights. Because you cannot get away from the fact that labor, by definition, is an act of subordination.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean,
wait.
My English is not so well, so sometimes I agree.
No,
absolutely agree. Workers' rights.
Don't be defensive. I'm trying to advance an argument where I will plead with both of you to move away from thinking of work as just labor. Many forms of work are outside the labor market and are never subject to labour law, however much you try and extend it to precarious forms of labour. The very concept of labour law is a contradiction with rights. If one talks of work rights, then one thinks of all forms of work, activity that we all do. And I think when you move in that direction, you realize very quickly that however much you refine your labour law system and your labour regulations, you always end up with a dualism, which is increasingly regressive. It's not something that I celebrate, but it is what happens in labour law and labour regulations. And until the progressives move away from talking as if labour is work, when work is something that is creative, dynamic and so on, we will still be in the trap that the ILO has got itself into. And they can fiddle around with definitions of informalization, an informal sector and all that stuff as much as they like, but they will still be in the trap of talking about labour and the duty to labour. And I think we need to move away to an agenda that is far more radical and talk about work rights for every human being, and then you open up rights to the 5 types that I mentioned this morning. And I really urge you to escape from labour law as the solution to our predicament of precariousness.
Well, partly I agree with you, and I do understand work in this broader sense of the word. But as long as we do have capitalist system, we do have, let's say, dependent work, labor, as you say, and it is very important to have labor law, and its function, its aim is to make human rights, abstract human rights, concretize, make them happen in practice in everyday life of people, from the majority of people who do in this system earn their living by working for someone else. We could have more radical, of course, I agree with you, alternatives, but we can also think about combination. I think we should always look for solutions which take the best of all ideas, and it is necessary to combine and not to diminish the aims of labor law in nowadays practice. Yes, of course. But as I said, I see a combination. Basic income, minimum universal basic income is rather a good idea, but it has to be combined with also high level of rights of all people who work. Absolutely, and I said that. And the necessary part of this is also the demands for reduction of working time. Having all people working, it's not enough to just, let's say, put them in this, let's say, same starting position, which is not guaranteed by basic income, but let's say, and then have free market. It does not work. We have to have combination of both. Social protection as well as possibilities to work in a sense of meaningful work, participating in meaningful work, which is participation of the creation of the wealth of the society, of course, not just labor, which does not mean anything and produces, let's say, dangerous products and so on. Yes, I agree.
Well, basically, it's one dimension in that direction. That even in Europe, one of the problems, as one can say, is the very division. And so it happened in history. I mean, but it doesn't happen by chance, obviously. There was the Charter of Fundamental Rights in Europe, and there was the European Social Charter. So the way that even they were divided, that was already a kind of splitting these rights, and now we have the consequences. And they're specializing whatever is this type of rights, labor as a special field. So now this field is increasing with the gap with labor rights, with human rights is increasing, and that's why there are practical problems coming out of that, including policy making in the reaction and in the cooperation of people in society. So yeah, there are problems on these sides, and at the end of the day, what happens at the moment, as I said, they are ignored. I mean, any time in the last 2 years that governments needed to ignore labor, whatever rights, they did it. They did take unilateral decisions on what they needed to do, basically supported by the EU. Even sometimes the IMF was more cautious on that, but they did it. And no one could stop them. I mean, no protest, no nothing, nobody could care. So that's even the ILO, here the ILO opinions, ILO has its limits. I mean, it's not a, it's a multilateral organization that operates in a way of consensus, so it can't impose sanctions or anything else. So that's it. When they don't want to do it, that's where the whole thing ends up. And that's why multilateralism in these times, I mean, actually, as we can see, is dissolving. I mean, so that's why all these international constructions are also beginning more and more to hang a bit in the air. Because, I mean, like the United Nations, you can see they're more and more instrumentalized. So until last year, when ILO blocked for the first time in 80 years, when the Committee for Implementation of Standards, a key structure of the whole ILO process and construction, so it could not be because the employers opposed the interpretation of Convention 87 about strikes and the right to strike. And this was it. There was no committee, there was nothing. So we'll see how this will work this year. But it just blocked. I mean, when somebody decides, it can block. So that's where the difficulty with all these things, and that's why it's important that, as it was mentioned this morning, one cannot just expect that everything will come from top down, and even from low down. I mean, that's where I mean, you have to have a base, you have to have processes and dynamics at the base. Otherwise, that's what guarantees the laws at the end of the day, particularly in this field, I mean, because there is not much else that can really support it.
Okay. Well, just to add something. Labor law and social security systems are the achievements of previous struggles and a kind of, let's say, European social heritage that we should be proud on, and we should nourish it and promote and develop further. And of course, it is important, what does labor law and social security law look like? And they should be in line in human rights perspective. So they should follow human rights perspective, but they are the very important achievement of previous struggles for more just conditions of work and living and working conditions, and we should be proud on these pillars of social state, and they are the necessary elements in capitalist system as well as socialist system, for example. I think they cannot just be thrown away.
Well, I'd like to expose my disagree with the leading, about this issue. It's okay when you are saying that that's the heritage of the previous class struggles in Europe, the welfare state. Yes, it is in one hand, that it's okay. It's also okay that you say that it's important for quite a big group of, let's say, workers or the workers inside labor, you know, which we saw from morning lecture from Maya. She exposed that 58% of the labor of the workers are still labor workers in Slovenia. Yes, that's it. That's all what is saying, and you know, and it's a base what you said, that this is important. But of course, you have to admit that the world is changing, really changing, you know. And what Mr. Gay said, sorry, what he said is, of course, that in one sense, we are dealing with a contradiction here of two concepts, and we have to take in account this contradiction while talking just about the labor and about the labor law. You have to have in your mind that you are not talking just not talking about the precaries, and you are avoiding this problem. You are talking against them. That's the problem which I see as a problem. And number two, what is more important, if I may say this, you know, you have to, in every concrete, if I may be a Marxist, you know, in every concrete historical situation, you know, and you have to take in account always the concrete historical conditions. You have to see what is the most important at the moment. What are these groups which are the most vulnerable and the most problematic? They are not connected with the labor law and with the labor and how it is, but they are connected with something anybody does not touch. You know, what is my problem, and I'd like to be concrete in Slovenian situation, with Slovenian trade unions. I'm sorry, ILO is a very abstract form for me, you know. It's somewhere not very important at the moment here, but the Slovenian trade unions are. I cannot say that they are bad trade unions. I cannot. I admit that inside this they are quite a fighting group, but they are not, you know, very oriented toward precarism problems here. Not as much as it has to be. And that's what the problem is, you know. No political agenda, nothing, no agenda, just, you know, about our workers, no other workers, no other, not to mention others, you know. That's how it look like, you know, and this is bad. And that's why I think we need this shift, you know, to another position. We have to go from this classical trade union revendication system toward more political and toward organization of new political forces, which will be backed also with this, let's say, a new class, as he said, you know, a precarious class. We need this shift. We need new leaders. Trade unions can be in this fight, but cannot lead this fight anymore.
It is more a comment than a question. Okay, it concerns this labor rights rejection and contradictions that are emerging from it. I think there really isn't contradictions about labor rights, and instead of emphasizing the rejection of labor rights, we should emphasize the reclaiming of legal sphere, in the sense that we put emphasis on social needs, collective dimensions, instead of property, individuality, foreign trade, and these kind of capitalist spaces. So the rights can be used, especially when faced with advancing flexibility or aggressive attacks on labor. Rights can be used. Labor rights can be used not only as a tactical move to reclaim the legal sphere in social context, but also they become a part of a struggle against the neoliberal attacks. Thank you.
So I'm astonished that
we hear all the time how all the conditions are worsening, be it rights, even human rights, be it employment, be it salaries, etc., be it democracy. And it is as if you're discussing it as if it was somebody was wrong. And he needs to be explained that what a good capitalism or a good world would be. So there is no analysis of why all this is happening. It's not by chance. It is a policy. So it depends on how you analyze this policy. Why is it happening? So you can say it's just the period of neoliberalism and this will be over and then we are again, So, no, but I mean, what are the reasons for all this going down of everything that in Europe has been gained during the centuries? So this is going to be disappearing. And why is it going to? So without knowing the reasons, you would never find a good strategy or whatever to do. And it is left out. The analysis of what are the reasons is completely left out of what I hear today.
Perhaps you could add some of yours. I mean, we are limited with time. There are many. There are many different reasons, as I see, but perhaps.
It is, in any way, it is a worldwide process. What is happening here is happening elsewhere. I would analyze it, as, for example, as the colonization of the North, or a third worldization or a housewifeization of the economy, whatever you might want to hear. But it is, in any case, not just a European. In Europe, the peripherization of certain regions, the southern regions, for example, is just one point in the whole process. In the end, there will be no core anymore. You know, maybe there's 1% somewhere, international class. But this is the dynamics of the whole, in the bigger picture. That is a worldwide process. So this is not occurring. So it would be maybe useful to do that. I cannot do that. I am not invited to speak, so I cannot develop this. Yeah. But I just want to say that it is possible. The analysis exists. There is a lot of analysis about that. And so, please.
Yes, I agree with you that there is a wider process going on, and I thought I emphasized it also earlier. As regards, thank you for the comment. I agree that law can be very powerful instrument and also a very powerful part of the struggle. And I think that, of course, we should develop further and not new solutions, because problems are not absolutely new, they're just in new forms. But the fundamental questions are the same in different parts of the world and also in different, let's say, phases of capitalism. It is all about this relationship between those who do have access and those who don't have. And emphasizing the role of labor and social law is emphasizing that they should be well developed, which gives actual and effective protection to all those who are in need of that protection. This is not a neoliberal approach which gives labor rights only to certain small group of regular workers. Labor law should be developed as to give effective protection to all precarious workers, and that is the emphasis which I wanted to put. And because of these different situations of different groups of workers, there is an apparent conflict of interest. It is not conflict between regular and non-regular workers. They all should have the same similar effective protection within the modern labor law, which gives this to all people who work. So, and It doesn't matter how we name it. It doesn't matter how we name the system. The importance is that it respects human rights, which has it's really difficult to explain what it is, but it has its foundation in respecting human dignity. It really doesn't matter how we name it, how we title it. It's important that if a system is capable of respecting human dignity and human rights, then it is okay. If it is not able to do that, it is not capable, then such system should be rejected. And nowadays, neoliberal system looks like it is not able to fulfill this function the same. So that's why it is problematic. And of course, it is the most difficult answer how to do this. As I see it, it is a combination of all different kinds of sources of powers which should be combined in a unique, strong, social counterpower in different ways, in different parts of the world. But we all have to add a bit of action to this project, as I say. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Will you say something on this question?
Well, okay, very good.
But in one sentence.
Yeah, that's what I say. I said, I mean, no, we are facing, well, someone saying there is a paradigm change going. Okay, that's I'm trying to follow as much as possible, but that means we are in a transition period. So it's not the problem simply what will be at the end, the problem is how we do the transition to reason somewhere and how much we will shape it. Because the paradigm, if it is, it's made at the moment. With every step it will be made. So that's for me the most important part. Otherwise, I agree. There are many things to be put in the analysis, starting with the financialization of the whole economy and all this, but this is, yes, these are particular areas where different strategies they've been already set, but it's very difficult to put them without democratic institutions and without the procedures. Thank you.